Josh Adams.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Here out of turn 4.
Tries to slam the door, but they sends him right back up the racetrack.
Big moment for Boney between him and Dexter. It's Ryan Kuhn yet again out of turn number 4. He's going to win for a second time in the Misfit Touring Series. But it's all about Christian Peterson out front. 9 top 5s, 9 top 10s, 4 times he's finished runner-up. But tonight, it's the first time win here in the Touring Series.
Christian Peterson, after 17 races, finally gets it done.
Drivers come here, they come to the Commonwealth of Virginia at Martinsville Speedway to make a name for themselves. We will do that in the sim tonight in race number 4 of the Misfit Touring Series season number 3. And we get to bring you this in the heat of the day. The heat, I guess it'll be the heat of the sim because it is fairly chilly outside. I could say we're all cozied up in our homes right now from your broadcast teams, and glad to be joined alongside each and every one. I'm glad to be joined alongside Gavin Grubbs this week as my color analyst, and as well as Morgan in our excellent commentary. And Morgan, we really appreciate you. Morgan Cook does everything, and with everything well, with the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. And you're going to see all of those excellent cameras this evening. Gavin, we got a lot of stuff up on the docket. Let's go to the schedule first. Let's talk about upcoming races tonight. We're obviously here at Martinsville. It's a regular old race, but next week in Kern County, we're going to get into the Dash for Cash races, the first of 2 this season, and we also just came off of the first of the Triple Crown races embedded into the season this year.
Yeah, we're really getting into the meat of the schedule now. You know, we've had 3 races so far. We've gotten to see what drivers have shown up to every race, who's ran up front when they're here. So now we know who is fast, who's here every week, and now the storylines are starting to play out as we really get into the great part of the schedule.
It's going to be great. We got Kern County up next, then of course South Boston Speedway and Lucas Oil Raceway Park to open up the beginning of 2026 and enter us into end off the first half of the season 3 of the Misfit Touring Series. And let's talk about the points here in this season 3 setting. It's currently Jake Grout who has led it from the beginning, and he's all the way up there with 3 top 5s in his 3 race starts, and one of the only drivers to make 3 starts, the only driver actually to make all 3 starts here this season. So Grout talked about last week in his interview about consistency, and that being key for him this year. And then up next, it's Thomas Dean sitting in the 71. He's been fairly consistent in his 2 races. And look, Christian Peterson had a little bit of a rough week last week. Had to start from the back, but gained it all the way up to the podium when blowing a tire later on in the race. He was able to still get a P3 out of it, Gavin. But a lot of those drivers up in that top 5, they're going to be fighting for this championship. Peterson, a 1-time winner, and you saw Kyle Turzak currently sitting in 3rd. He is a 2-time winner, but he will not be able to make the race once again tonight. So it's 2 for 2 for Turzak, but we'll have to we'll see him maybe next time. But this time, Jake Grout and Christian Peterson will line up on row number 1, and of course the grid will be inverted, so this will be 7th and 6th position. Then moving forward in 5th spot, it'll be Chris Shepard. And 4th spot, it will be Kyle Adams. Moving further back and actually further forward, in 4th, it'll be Matthew Knott. In 3rd, it'll be Marquise Smith. I think Marquise Smith will actually be in 2nd, and it'll be Ethan Wolf sitting on your pole after the 7-car invert. Then, of course, it goes as normally for usual. 8th spot, for Jace Hale with a 19.67, and it'll be Tanner Berge in row number 5 alongside Wyatt Dent, rounding out your top 10, Gavin.
Yeah, outside of the top 10, we have Richard Parks and Bryce Nelson in row 6. Row 7, Dylan Delaney, Travis Owens in 13th and 14th. 15th and 16th is Aaron Johnson and John Leday. And 17th, rounding out the field, is Brandon Atkinson in that 15 car. He qualified with a 19.81.
So 17 cars set to make the grid, 7-car invert. And Gavin, we've got 100 laps ready and set up on the docket tonight, 50 miles straight up, no extra tires in the pits. That means this is a straight up race on fuel and tires. There's going to be no pitting, no nothing, unless you obviously have a problem with damage or anything, but there is no strategy straight up within the pits. It is just how you race it out on track. And I got to imagine that starting up front is going to be essential.
Yeah, now don't say there's no strategy, because when you don't have tires, you have to know how to conserve a little bit, as well as staying up front, because we have not seen a whole lot of cautions in these Misfit races so far this year. They have all been relatively clean, so you have to stay near the front as well as manage your tires. That balancing act is going to be key to winning tonight.
It is going to be important. It's going to be key, obviously, pit road speed, 35 miles per hour. If anyone does need to pit, no sets of tires available, 3 green-white checkers, of course, as always, and these drivers running on their open setups. So it's a battle of driver and car that you'll be feeling all evening long. And hey, Gavin, that's why I said no strategy in the pits, because I agree with you wholeheartedly. There is always something you can do when the wheel is in your hands as a driver. So all these drivers mixing it up right now, getting to their true starting positions after the 7-spot invert, and Ethan Wolf was the winner basically of that. He's going to be seated in the best position after this invert. Michael Knott, he's had some practice earlier today, said he didn't feel like he was going to be so fast, but obviously qualified still within the top 5. So Michael Knott, you can see him staying up here within the race as well. Drivers we can see moving through the field. Christian Peterson, he's going to be starting back. I say moving through the field, he'll starting back in 6th, but hey, he's got some work to do forward. I'd also look at Aaron Johnson and Brandon Atkinson starting 15th and 17th. They could be 2 drivers that could start moving through as well. So 17 drivers ready to make the start here in the Commonwealth of Virginia for Martinsville Speedway. It's race number 4, round number 4 of the Misfit Touring Series. Let's get it on here. 100 laps lie ahead. Already yellow out.
Wow.
You
Whoa.
see it. A huge, huge stack up into turn 1. And it started around and near Jace Hale. It was a stack up in the outside lane, a domino sort of effect. It started with the 71 of Christian Peterson.
Yeah, let's take a look at it here on the replay, because the cars were a little bit spread out, and you see these guys in the back try to get a run, and it just kind of accordions up. I don't think it was anything crazy. Maybe the 24 had a slow shift, but I don't even know if that would really affect it.
Yeah, Kyle Adams definitely did lurch backwards there. That kind of dominoed effect into the rest here. You can see the 31. Oh my goodness, already early action. Hey, you said it. We're going to be able to keep it fairly clean, but I think tonight might not be the same sort of case. Of course, we hope for that to be different, Gavin, but I don't think we expected a lap 1 incident.
If I expected a lap 1 incident, I probably wouldn't have talked about how clean the race was. But, you know, everybody talks about the announcer's jinx in just about every sport, and I think on iRacing that is also in effect here.
Definitely can happen. So, Marquis Smith, we have learned it twice today. So, under caution early on in the race. This is decent for Ethan Wolf. You know, it's going to be re-rack him and let's go again. But it is definitely going to be tough for the 02 of Travis Owens and 31 of Bryce Nelson. I talked about Travis Owens there in the 02. He's actually already a lap down. You can see here Bryce Nelson currently second to last on the field. All these drivers trying to get ready and set forth. A few of them in the pits as well. Jace Hale, he had some big damage. You can see him there. He does have a significant damage in that number 9. It's always tough, Gavin, when you start a race and you're so optimistic, and especially for a lot of these drivers starting up front or at least up decently in the mid-pack. It is tough to get taken out that way, even if you don't get taken out fully, even if you just collect some damage. It's frustrating to get involved in something that early.
Yeah, especially when you might have wheel damage here, when you don't have that set of tires to fall back on. Because if you have wheel damage, you obviously have to get a little bit of it taken care of, but you don't want to go a lap down. And we might see a situation where some of these cars involved in this wreck, they got to be worried about maybe blowing a tire here midway or late in this race.
Got to take care of your tires tonight. It is going to be important. You're going to hear drivers talking about it. If we can't see it reflected within the lap times, we'll keep an eye on it all evening long. All right, let's try it again. Let's give it a go. First restart of the night. Low start on the outside for Marquis Smith. Catherine Knott will try to pull into second place. He'll clear into second place now off of turn 2. So Knott up from third, now into second over Marquis Smith. Sending it in, that's Jake Grout. In the 49, he positioned on pole in the timing charts, but inverted back to 7th. Well, Gavin, he's already in 4th.
Yeah, Grout's been fast in every race I've been a part of here, and he's just moved through the field. You know, I've watched him qualify near the front every race and be part of that invert where he has to fight through a little bit of traffic, and he's always up front super early on. But one thing I do want to say, what about that restart by Ethan Wolf? He got a huge jump there at the start when the green flag came out.
It pays to be the control car. As you see here, another battle back in the field. I believe that was Brandon Atkinson, yes, in the number 15, inside of the 68 of Wyatt Dent. Dent going to lose the position now. And Bryce Nelson, to try to squeeze in there, but he was not. So Wyatt Dent will squeeze into the 10th spot. Brandon Atkinson up into 9th place. And remember, Atkinson started shotgun on the field. He's already up 8 spots. Now we jump back up to Marquis Smith, and here we go, 88. Round of Dylan Delaney. Delaney positioned in the first race early on at 5 flags, but has not raced with us since 5 flags. So this 88 would love a good result tonight. I gotta say, it's a good looking late model machine, but it doesn't always matter how it looks. It matters how it drives. And Delaney, at least so far, 88 running in 8th.
That's what I was honestly about to bring up, is how good looking of a race car that 88 is. That might be my personal favorite paint scheme of tonight. I mean, that is a beautiful race car.
Another beautiful race car, that bright blue 49 of Jake Grout. Again, he qualified quickest time, but was inverted back to 7th. But he is showing us, Gavin, why he pulled that quickest time out of the bag in qualifying. He is already fighting for 2nd place with Matthew Knott. He's going to clear Matthew Knott. And look at this, Marquis Smith trying to gain that position back. He lost it early on the restart to Matthew Knott, and he's trying to take it back right here in turn 3. Knott going to battle back, though, and not give it away with such ease.
Yeah, and if I'm not right now, I might be thinking of just letting these guys by. That way I don't have to, use up a little bit of extra tire on the outside and fight for everything I have. I really just want to settle in and start logging laps.
Some drivers, though, not quite ready to settle in. Marquis Smith really going to push the issue, push the boundaries. And Tanner Berge right behind. You can see him trying to choose where to go, inside or outside. And Christian Peterson, could that give him the hole here? Riding along with Marquis Smith on the hood. He's now going to fall back in the line. But Berge going to make the move, dive down low, and Marquis Smith going to have to leave it open. The hole was filled, but off the corner. He's going to prevail in that top side line, but wow, what a dive that was for Berge. It was a late dive, and here we go, another late dive. Christian Peterson going to even it up door to door with Berge.
Yeah, I don't know if that was that much of a late dive, as Berge just maybe drove it in a little bit too hard trying to race with Marquis Smith.
So Christian Peterson, winner 2 races ago at North Wilkesboro. And he was trying to fight for the win 1 week ago at Oxford Plains in the 250-lap race, but it was a late tire blowout that took him out of it. He was able to save it and keep it on the podium. Now he's trying to race back into the podium. That was a battle for 5th spot with Tanner Berge. So Berge going to fall back to 6th, and now Delaney is looking inside to take away that 6th spot immediately.
Yeah, we're really just seeing how much of an advantage that bottom line is here, because Tanner Berge's stuck on the outside, and these cars are just getting to his inside and getting right around him. As we saw a car blink off of the track there. They were parked on the back stretch.
Yeah, it was Bryce Nelson.
But Bryce Nelson gonna park it, take it behind the pit wall, at least for a reset. We'll have to wait a couple laps and see if he gets back out on the track and tries to log more laps.
Nelson was involved in that early lap 1 incident. Got to imagine that maybe some of the damage he sustained is the reason that he pulled off of the racetrack. Look at here, the 22 John Leday trying to work himself through the field. He's up 4 spots now from the race start, in 12th position so far, trying to chase down the 68 of Wyatt Dent. He has got some work to do, though. The gap between those 2 cars is nearly 8 tenths. So John Leday trying to catch this pack. And speaking of this pack, Gavin, this entire pack is being held up by the 82 of Matthew Knott, who sits in 3rd. He's 1.2 seconds behind 2nd place of Jake Grout. And that pack goes from 3rd all the way back to the 68 of Dent, who sits in 11th. So it's a 9-car pack all stacked up behind the 82 of Knott.
Yeah, at some point these guys behind him got to see that gap that Ethan Wolf's building on them, and maybe use a little bit of that front bumper to try to get Knott up to the high side so they can all start getting around him. It's going to be really interesting to see how much patience these cars behind him, especially Marquis Smith in 4th, have.
Yeah, they might have some for now. And Marquise, I think Marquise not wanting to make some sort of big move. I think if you're going to see a move out of anybody, it's probably going to be from Christian Peterson. That move will be calculated by Peterson, however, but Christian Peterson knows when it is time to go. And currently, Peterson is 3.8 seconds back from your leader, Ethan Wolf. So at some point, he's going to have to know when to go. And I think you speak of this pack, it's breaking up into two separate packs a little bit by the 19 of Christopher Shepard.
Yeah, you were just talking about Christian Peterson, and he made his first move. So let's really watch him here in this battle for third. As Marquise Smith ends up losing a few spots there.
He does. He lost two. 35 Tanner Berge was able to easily slip in on the inside and find his way around the number 7. So the 7 car now back to 6th behind the 35. And you can see that 19 of Christopher Shepard currently holding up the 15 of Brandon Atkinson. What a run by Atkinson so early, already 1/4 into this race, and he has made his way up to 8th spot, 9 positions gained already.
Yeah, I mean, he's just picking them off. He managed to make it through that first wreck pretty clean. Definitely picked up a handful of spots there. And now he's just...
He's looking for another.
Yeah, he's looking for another. He's just picking these cars off one at a time, just working his way up steadily. And I think he's going to be in a great position if we come out with another caution to pick up a few more spots once the field gets back bunched together.
Did you see that jump sideways by the 19 of Christopher Shepard? You know what that tells me, Gavin? Some of these drivers are downshifting. That's one of the things about this late model stock at Martinsville Speedway. With it being an open race setup, there's 2 different ways that drivers like to race this race in late model stock. Shifting or non-shifting. A lot of drivers love to downshift into 3rd gear, help the car stop, save some of those brakes, and get good turn off of the center and get good rotation. But some drivers like to keep it consistent, staying in 4th gear, really let the car roll the corner and let momentum try to carry itself and create its own. That tells me the 19 of Christopher Shepard is downshifting. Gotta wonder what other drivers in the field are downshifting and saving brakes.
So which one of those 2 camps do you fall under when you're racing in Martinsville? Because I'm definitely a leave it in 4th kind of guy. I like to use that momentum. I don't like to have to shift coming out of the corner and, blip my throttle on these long straightaways.
If I'm racing, if it's a fixed setup league, I like to be not shifting. I like to truly be focused on wrapping the corner and just driving the line. If I'm in an open setup league, I want to be shifting. I want to save those brakes for as long as I can, and I want to be able to get as much good drive off the corner as I can. I want to know, and we'll try to look. I'm going to see if we can see any fire out of the pipes to see who might also pertain to some of those drivers who might be shifting versus not shifting. Christian Peterson, no matter what he's doing, shifting or not, he has caught quickly the back of the 82 as Kyle Adams here in this number 24 is trying to regain positions after starting inside of the front 2 rows at the invert. But he's back in 13th, Gavin, behind this 78 of Aaron Johnson.
Yeah, he's just stuck back there. He's just not being able to move forward. I don't know. I did talk about strategy and saving tires, and you kind of got to wonder if he's hoping for a caution. That way, when the cars in front of him have those worn-out tires, he will have a big advantage over them.
And he very much could. This is the thing. There's no guaranteed cautions.
No, there's not.
Unless something happens, this is how it's going to be. And I think that's why I spoke to the importance of knowing when it is time to go, because Ethan Wolf, he has only lapped 1 car, and that is the 02 of Travis Owens, who technically was lapped under the caution period. So Ethan Wolf has not encountered a single race car all race long, especially once we got the drop of the 2nd restart, of which we have been green since that point. Ethan Wolf is 2.8 seconds out from the 49 of Jake Grout. That tells me one of 2 things, Gavin. Either A, Ethan Wolf is really fast and going to be able to maintain this over the entire race, or that maybe Jake Grout is saving tire and Ethan Wolf could be pushing too hard too early.
I don't know how much Jake Grout's saving, though, because, he had to pass quite a few cars there at the start of the race to get to this 2nd position, and now the gap is just kind of maintaining. I feel like if he was pushing, he would be picking up more time than he is.
And I think it's going to be something we're going to have to watch, because I will say about Jake Grout, let's take it back to 1 week ago at Oxford. He pushed a little bit early, not too aggressively, but just enough that so that later on in the race, Terzak and Peterson ended up having more tire than him. Did he learn his lesson from last week at Oxford and has started to be able to learn how to save more, especially at such a different track?
I don't know if he learned it or not. And, you know, we're listening to him. He's shifting in the corners. He's getting that extra run, extra drive off with those high RPMs. So it's hard for me to say that he's saving if he's in a situation and a setup where he's shifting, you know, because you got to be really aggressive. And Wolf is not shifting.
Well,
And
Gavin, you've experimented with that many times before, especially when you and I have raced even the next gen. It comes into play at times like that where you might stop shifting later on.
Yeah, that's the thing about this car is you're not going to stop shifting later on. If anything, you're going to start shifting later on, because if you stop shifting later on, you're going to be slower in the corners, slower out. You're going to have a lower RPM if you're in fourth gear and have even less drive off the corner. So if anything, as we get later in the run, more cars are going to start shifting.
Well, and let's watch that. Let's watch it with Ethan Wolf, who has now stopped shifting. And maybe he hasn't shifted from the beginning. Maybe the fourth gear setup is how he's been loving it. And here we go, Christian Peterson. We thought he was close to the 82 Matthew Knott earlier. Well, he is even closer now. You can see him try to arc out that corner as far as possible, even as far as tapping the wall on the entry to turn 3. He's looking for a run now, looking to the inside of the 82, but 82 can continue to slam the door closed on the nose of the 71. This is where I pose the question again. When does Peterson make a move? Because now the gap to the leader, 4.5 seconds.
And I'm watching. He's playing both offense and defense at the same time here, because Tanner Berge's right there behind him. And whoa, as you watch him, I think
that got tight.
Did he bounce it off the curb just a little bit?
He had to slam on the brakes because the 82 was not going to let the 71 try to shove the nose in there. But I can say the 71 on the brakes had the hole filled. And as I say that, caution waves at lap 44, 68, Matthew Dent low on the bottom. And wow, you saw that Peterson almost hit him.
Yeah, let's watch here. This is Wyatt Dent we're going to ride with and follow him along here into turn 1. He's loose on entry and just spins it around. Like you said earlier, do you think he was one of them that was downshifting and lost the rear end when he downshifted?
Possibly could have been. Let's listen along here and see if our viewers and fans can listen to this audio and see if he is in fact downshifting. Oh, yeah, he's just loose. He's just loose on the inside. And you can see it happening there, and it's going to happen right here again in turn 1, and where he's eventually going to spin. And it tells me just a little bit of locking of the rear brakes might need to move that bias forward for the future of this race, and because we're not even yet to halfway. And even in a moment like this, Gavin, you spin like this, you don't get a fresh set of tires. You can't bolt on a new one because that skid mark, that wear from sliding, you're going to have to live with that for the rest of the race.
Yeah, that's going to affect the rest of his race. I don't know how big it's going to affect it because, you know, that was a pretty low-speed slide. These are some of the tightest corners on iRacing. I find this to be probably the most difficult oval to race on, especially with the low speeds and heavy braking. So that might not have hurt his tires as bad as it would somewhere with, you know, a more sweeping corner.
So now we will bunch the field back up. And at a time like this, you'd normally be saying, well, I wonder when everybody's going to come get their tires or make their pits. Well, again, we don't have any. And it's straight up from here. I really am interested to see how these drivers will fire off. As you see Ethan Wolf here trying to get down to some colder racetrack, cool off those tires as much as he absolutely can. But now it's going to be Wolf, Grout, Knott, Peterson, and Berkey that remain your top 5. But the 3-second gap that Ethan Wolf had to Jake Grout has been completely eliminated.
Yeah, I mean, that gap was completely erased. He had built up a huge gap. We did talk about, is he saving? Is he pushing? I think we're about to find out who saved and who pushed there on that first run that lasted almost the first half of the race.
I'd have to agree with you as well now, since we're double stacked. Who can find their way to the bottom as fast as possible and who might get stuck on the outside and lose positions quickly. Grout and Peterson both are on the outside.
Yeah, let's watch Wolf here to see if he has as good of a restart as he did earlier.
So Wolf looking to repeat what he did on the initial start and in the first restart. Now this is the second restart after the second caution, nearing halfway, and it is not near as good of a restart. Both cars on the front row slow to start the race.
Yeah, Tanner Berge had to kind of get out of the way there in third. I say out of the way, he had to move out of line so he didn't run over the cars in front of him.
Oh.
And a little bit of contact.
There we go, wrecking up front, and there's a massive checkup.
And,
oh my goodness, Chase
oh,
Hale piles in, as well as Marquis Smith.
That's disappointing to see two cars that fast tangle up together and just have their night potentially ruined.
Well,
we're going to get to see what happens here.
Yeah, the front rows, both of them already had checked up themselves, but then watch here with Jake Grout. He's going to get loose off of two, but then he starts checking up again, gets the nose from Peterson, and then he just makes the tiniest contact with the right rear of Ethan Wolf, and that gets Ethan Wolf skewed to the right and eventually pushes Ethan Wolf, and he has to try to correct himself, but the nose of Grout is there, and Grout can't back out of it because Peterson is right on his rear bumper. Oh, that is not the way you wanted it to go for the front row. And just, I mean, there was no room for error there, Gavin. You saw how tight the margins were down the back straightaway. And I don't think any of that was purposeful, just a tight squeeze for everyone.
Yeah, no one's at fault there. I mean, all those guys were really just competing for the lead because, you know, it's like we saw, it's fairly hard to pass here. So they want to get every spot they can on the restart and file in line. It was just a lot of cars and not a lot of space.
A lot of cars, not a lot of space. So Christian Peterson, it looks like he's going to get an EOL for this. Yep, he will take, either he took responsibility for the caution or he is going to get the EOL from race control, but Christian Peterson will go to the rear. So I would say three of your top contenders have been taken out. We're going to take a quick side-by-side for 918 Designs. Don't worry, you won't miss a thing halfway through this race for Martinsville. I know it was short. I know it was speedy. That's how we like it here at the MRL and here at V-Speed. But thanks to 918 Designs for sponsoring our side-by-side. My name is Scott Shive. I'm joined alongside by Gavin Grubbs and Morgan Cook, our excellent producer, with all our cameras provided by Dougie Beard. You just saw the two of the leaders get taken out. Ethan Wolf now in the fifth row. Matthew Knott has inherited the lead from third. Let's see what he can do with it. Green flag, 53 laps completed.
This restart's a lot more tame than the last one. I think everybody saw the chaos that just unfolded, and they're going to let a few laps get in before they get really crazy. As I say, that we have a intense battle for second between Tanner Berge and John Lede.
The contact there, fender to fender, between the 22 and the 35, and whoa, Berge going to try to cut back in line and find his way into line, but Dylan Delaney was not going to have any of it, but had to bounce all the way to the inside, near the inside wall of the back straightaway to make sure he did not turn the 35, but Delaney has now moved up to fourth. Before this caution early on, before the initial restart at lap 44, he was running in 10th spot, so he has gained 6 positions from the course of the craziness that happened in the past 10 laps.
Yeah, speaking of that craziness, I don't think we've mentioned John Lede all race long, and now he's running in second, trying to compete for the lead here.
Look at this, 3 wide, Christian Peterson, Ethan Wolf, and the 78 of Aaron Johnson. Johnson will fall out of the battle, and it puts it side by side for the 71 and the 112 of Ethan Wolf. It is a battle for ninth. Remember, Ethan Wolf got wrecked from the lead, and Christian Peterson got the EOL for the incident. And now they settle that out. 9th spot for Peterson, 10th spot for Wolf. It's Brandon Atkinson and Kyle Adams going door to door, and Adams going to get the wall fairly heavily there. That's going to be big wheel damage for the 24.
Yeah, that looked like it probably hurt the race car a little bit there. He got on the wall hard.
Atkinson
we're
was a
going-
little aggressive there.
Yeah, the lead's heating up here between Matthew Knott and John Leday, as John Leday's cut that lead pretty much now down to, we're not measuring it in time, we're measuring it in he's at the bumper.
Well, and so is Tanner Berge, right at the bumper of John Leday, and Berge going to look to the inside, and he's going to get the door. He's going to give the quarter panel in the nose to the 22 of Leday, and Leday going to fall back heavily from it. He falls back to 6th spot behind Richard Parks, and that is a little bit of a shot back that Berge gave that he felt he got early on.
What a save by John Leday, though. That was an impressive save. I thought for sure he was going around.
Well, and I was about to say this. I can say with certainty that Matthew Knott and John Leday have never won in the Misfit Touring Series since its inception back in 2023, and they were both fighting 1 and 2. Matthew Knott still residing in position number 1, but now John Leday gets past the 19 of Christopher Shepard, and he's back into the top 5. But he's going to have some not so kind words possibly for the 35 of Berge, who is now sitting in that 2nd spot. Christian Peterson continues the march forward from the rear, and Ethan Wolf staying in stride as well.
Yeah, Ethan Wolf's really impressing me, being able to drive through the field with that damage on the right front.
He's still carrying the damage.
Yeah, I figured that car wouldn't be turning that well, or not even driving straight down the straightaways, but he's managing to make up time on the cars around him.
It might just show you the true strength of why he had a 3-second lead early on after we took the longest green flag run of the night. It was 41 laps before our 2nd caution, and the caution that would ultimately put Ethan Wolf damaged and in the mid-pack of the field. He's now up to 7th behind the 71 of Christian Peterson as we watch a 3-way tight pack fight for the lead. It's not Berge and Delaney. And let's not forget, in the MRL chat, Matthew Knott believed that this car would be racing at the back most of the night. And he has been at the front all evening long. 65 laps completed this time, 35 to go.
Man, we are already nearing the back third of this race. This race has flown by. Truly a sprint race for these guys. These cars up front, the intensity is about to pick up as a 4th car joins the battle for the lead. That is the 113 of Richard Parks.
Yeah, Parks entering the mix, and exiting the mix of any sort of race tonight is a 7 of Marquis Smith. Was fighting up front early, but got early damage. And you saw he was one of the cars that piled in to that turn 3 incident just 20 laps ago. So Marquis Smith will park it on the pit road for now. He's out of it for the night, but it's not Berge and Delaney, still running tight, and Richard Parks trying to get a piece of the action. And don't forget about John Leday. He is back on the tail of this pack. And I speak of don't forget about anybody, Christian Peterson and Ethan Wolf are pulling up to the pack as well. They're trying to make it a 7-car fight.
Yeah, we have 7 cars within 2 seconds of the lead right now. And if anything, they are all getting closer and closer together.
Let's watch along with the 9 of Jace Hale on board, fighting with the 49 of Jake Grout. And I think Grout got the most of the damage as wow. Look up front. Matthew Knott, as we ride along with him, I'm going to say this, we'll watch it in a minute, but Matthew Knott just got moved aside for the lead. But glad Jace Hale, glad we could get a driver cam tonight. We'd love to get the in-person view and out of the windshield and back at the driver and see the work that is being done by this number 9 of Jace Hale, trying to make some ground back up from an early lap 1 incident. He is racing for 13th spot and in 12th with Jake Grout as they battle on track for this position. Change for the lead up front has happened. Tanner Berge has moved aside the 82 of Matthew Knott as caution will wave, and it is Matthew Knott in fact.
The leader's curse strikes again tonight. The leaders have been involved in 2 incidents tonight, or drivers that have led. And here, let's see what happens here.
Yeah, let's take it back to what initially moved the 82 out of the lead. Berge gets a great run at it too, makes the move down, and Matthew Knott honestly just doesn't give him the space. Whether or not his spotter said he was there or not, he did not give him the space, so Knott falls down to 5th now. Peterson looking to the inside to try to take the 5th spot for himself. Knott still fine right now on the outside, and it's going to get tight here between the two. He's going to get a little bit of a door to the 71. 71, I imagine, is going to race him tight. 112 of Ethan Wolf is going to try to fill the gap, and it's going to make near contact between them two. I'm wondering on the edge of my seat, Gavin, when this contact is going to come between these two. And it might be Matthew Knott. Yeah, there it is. Center 1 and 2 between the 112 and the 82. I don't know. It looked like the 82 was trying to squeeze the 112 and not give him any room. And Ethan Wolf just came up just, a foot, and that was all that he needed.
Yeah, Knott was in a situation where he was desperate to get to the bottom. And, Wolf's been riding around with damage. So the car's probably going to be a little bit tighter in 1 and 2. So the margin for error on both drivers was smaller than it would have been normally. And I think that's what brought out the contact and then the caution.
You said it. He was urgent. It was urgent for him to get back down to the bottom, and he was unable to do it. And so he will enter the pit lane now, and he is back in 12th spot near the end of all the cars running on the lead lap. And it was such a great run for 82, a driver who said, this car looks great. I hope it'll look that good at the back. And he had not been at the back all race long for 70% of the race. And this is going to be a tough pill to swallow for the 82 of Matthew Knott, who legitimately had a shot to win his first ever Misfit Touring Series race. But two drivers that now make up the front row, they have won before, but for both of them, it has been a long time since the two of them have been to victory lane. It's been an on and off season for the 35 of Berge. He started multiple races within the Season 2 Touring Series as well as the Summer Series, but he has not run full-time in the Touring Series since Season 1, when I believe he picked up his first win. Dylan Delaney, kind of the same story. He won early in Season 1. I think he won a Summer Series race as well, but he has not raced consistently since that early time in 2023 and 2024. What a story it would be if either of them could get to victory lane, but they're going to have to battle each other to do it. 25 laps left here at Martinsville.
Tanner Berge had a great restart there on the bottom. I've noticed the bottom, just in the restart zone, not even in the corners, has been the place to be. There seems to be a little bit more grip down there, I think.
Could be more grip down on the bottom lane.
Now here's a driver that I've been watching all night. He has been fast. He got sent to the rear of the field and has already worked his way back up to third place. That's Christian Peterson. I think he might be the fastest car on the track right now.
71, Christian Peterson, Season 2 Misfit Touring Series champion for a reason. And he is filled with consistency, the mark and the key of a champion. At 71, continues to march forward. He is now back into the podium placement, and he is 0.8 of a second behind Tanner Berge and Richard Parks, who currently sit in second. Whoa, big time movement between the 88 and the 22. Leday and Delaney make some contact. Delaney not happy about it.
No, I don't think he is, but did you see Richard Parks, the back end kind of stepped out a little bit from him there in turn 4, and that allowed Christian Peterson to get up to him. And Peterson's about to be able to make a move for second here, and he's still got 20 laps to go. He might have a shot at the win.
Peterson absolutely could have a shot at the win. He is only one of your 2 winners so far this season in the Season 3 Touring Series. Kyle Turzak has 2 wins, with his win last week as well at Oxford and the first opening week at Five Flags Speedway. And of course, Christian Peterson got his first and only win so far this season at North Wilkesboro. Could he make it 2 and tie it up with Turzak? He's already made it back to the podium, and now he's closing up the rear bumper of the 1 of Richard Parks.
Yeah, I've been watching the last couple laps. It just seems like Peterson's able to wrap the bottom a little bit better than the 2 cars in front of him. I think that's going to be the advantage he has here at the end, and that really is impressing me, surprising me a little bit that he has that much turn, because he's not been able to save his tires. He's had to drive back through the field to get to a podium position.
Shows you the raw speed of that machine and the driver himself. Matthew Knott moves around the 49 of Jake Grout. And Matthew Knott will move back into the top 10 as the battle for the lead continues to heat up. Richard Parks trying to get to the inside of Berge, but Berge going to pull down, try to block it. Can Parks open the door for himself here? Berge Going to be a little tight off the corner, but not enough of a run for the one of Parks. And a reminder to you, this is the first ever race for Richard Parks in the Touring Series. We don't know much about him, and he is trying to prove something here tonight.
What a statement that would be to come in here, your first race in this league that's a very well-established league with quite a bit of history, to come in as an unknown and go to victory lane.
It would be something that we have not heard of in quite a while for a driver coming in and truly making their mark. And Richard Parks is trying to do that this evening from Martinsville. Waiting for his time, waiting for his moment. When is the time to strike? It's 15 laps that remain, because at this point, Parks is on offense and defense, and it's two great drivers that bring him into a sandwich.
Yeah, and you got to think of him as the underdog right now as well as an unknown, because I'm looking at the I ratings of the top 4 cars.
Caution.
Everyone other than him has an I rating over 4,000, and his is setting there at a very solid still 2,840.
So solid for them is, oh, you can see the damage from earlier for Jake Grout, what has been slowing him down all night. This was 11th spot for Jake Grout, and then it is Wyatt Dent. Currently, he was in 12th. Jace Hale trying to get by him in that pass for 12th, and Grout got into the wall, and then Wyatt Dent did not realize that he was slowing down as aggressively.
Yeah, I think he was just paying attention to the car behind him, because, you know, it's hard to let up when you have a car right at your rear bumper, because, you know, if you hit the brakes, that car behind you might turn you. So you have to just stay in it as much as you can while trying to slow down and avoid the car in front of you at the same time. It's really a balancing act, and it just didn't work out for him there.
It's a tough position to be in for the 68 of Wyatt Dent, who started in 10th spot and currently runs in 11th after the wreck from the 49 of Jake Grout. And you saw from that replay some of the true damage that he got and from that wreck between him and Ethan Wolf. And Wyatt took that car that was possibly in contention for the lead all the way to this back of this field. I mean, the toe is completely in for that left rear, and it explains why he's so slow on track now.
Yeah, I mean, if I was any of these guys in the back 4 or 5 cars, I'd be pitting just to get a little bit of this damage repaired. You're not going to lose that. Not going to lose hardly any track position at all pitting right now. I know there's only 10 laps left, but yeah, I don't think your left rear is supposed to do that.
It is definitely not. It reminds me of one time when I was in a late model stock league race at Slinger, and I got wrecked from the lead under caution. It was a complete accident, but just the way iRacing had it, I got so much damage that my car was crab walking by about 2 feet. And so it's definitely not supposed to happen, and I can tell you from experience, it does not drive good, and it does not feel good as a driver, and no race car like that is a winning race car. Luckily for Tanner Berge, Richard Parks, Christian Peterson, their race cars are perfectly fine and is in pristine order that you can call a race car a late model stock from Martinsville Speedway. It'll be 10 remaining when we take the green once again. And we spoke of Berge and how it's been so long since he's made it to victory lane, but what about Richard Parks, who has never made a start here in the Touring Series and is already competing and battling for the win? And then there's Christian Peterson, already a winner, a Season 2 champion, and he's got probably inarguably the fastest car, and he gets a good restart from third, trying to immediately move into second.
What a good move by Peterson on the bottom there, because he's going to be able to wrap the bottom, get even with second place here, and he's just going to fall right in line behind Tanner Berge. Or is he? Because Berge stepped out of line just a little bit, getting higher up, as race control says.
There's a pileup in turn 3.
If that 49 car of Jake Grout was driving bad before, it's probably driving awful now.
It definitely is. Those 6 cars up front had a breakaway. Let's watch here with the 15 of Atkinson and the 19 of Shepard down into turn 3. Gotta imagine there's a late lunge. Yeah, I don't know, maybe a little bit of a late lunge by the 19 there. 15 of Atkinson was trying to close off the door, and the 19 with 10 laps to go was not really going to give. And a lot of drivers behind them, like Kyle Adams as well as Wyatt Dent. There was nowhere really for them to go. Right along with Christopher Shepard here.
Yeah, this will really be able to tell us what went down in this accident.
It looks like now 15 is clear and just a late lunge by the 19.
Yeah, Brandon Atkinson was clear. I don't even know if that was really a lunge by Shepard as it was Brandon Atkinson braked a little bit earlier than Shepard. I don't think it was much of a lunge as he just braked a little bit later, and Brandon Atkinson closed the door just a little bit late.
Could have been the case. So now, when the caution came out, Christian Peterson has moved into second and will line up now on the outside. Can Richard Parks do what Peterson just did to him and try to take back that second spot?
Yeah, I think Peterson's actually in a worse position being in second than he was in third. I would rather be in second right now. What about you?
Yeah, well, I'd rather be on the inside. I'd rather be in third.
Yeah, be in third. Second
I figured that's what you meant. We're in agreement.
Second in line on the inside.
We're definitely in agreement. Now, Christian Peterson, he's on the front row. So if there's a matter of fact or any chance that he gets possibly as good of a restart as Berge, he could follow Berge on the outside down into turn one and possibly try to pinch him down and take it away on the outside. But inarguably, that's going to be harder than if you were battling right behind. It's much easier to try to get a driver out of sorts with your front bumper than it is to try to race all the way around them, especially here at the paperclip.
Yeah, we're coming to 5 to go here at the restart, and this is going to get chaotic.
It's continued to get chaotic. We had some nice green flag runs, but those are over now. It's going to be a short sprint to the finish. 5 remain now. Berge has the control car, great start, but look at Peterson, absolutely sends it on the outside into 1, now out of 2. With the momentum, pulls wheel to wheel with the 35, but again, an inside lane is a dominant lane, but Berge gonna get tight trying to wrestle with the 71, but he's still got a nose clear.
Yeah, Christian Peterson did a great job there, keeping him pinned down on the bottom. He was able to find a gap, fill in right behind him with 4 laps to go here. There's going to be more contact.
Johnson. That is day done. And that's the crab walking I was talking about. Richard Parks and Aaron Johnson were battling for the 4th spot. You can see Aaron Johnson in the 78. He started back. He actually started, I believe, shotgun on the field for the 78. John Leday was looking to make a move, backed out of that one. And so you saw Richard Parks give the space here to the 78, and just a tight squeeze between them two, and honestly looks like Johnson just comes up too early.
Yeah, I think Aaron was just trying to get up to the top, get in line. I think he thought that there was space for him, and there just wasn't. I think he just slightly misjudged where he was going to be by not far. We got a Formula Drift here in the late model stock.
This
here
is
at the
what
back
my
of the
car
pack.
looked like at Slayer. This is what I was talking about. Now we get an example. Oh,
you know,
man.
if this was Need for Speed, his nitro would be refilled right now with that drift.
It would. Sadly for Richard Parks, I don't think he cares about his drift speed or his nitro fuel amount in Need for Speed. All he can think about is that I was in the fight for a podium and was taken out of it.
Yeah, he's definitely not happy right there. I mean, he was in a great position to battle for the lead with these top 2. He was right behind him, waiting patiently on something to happen. He was going to be able to pounce, and it just did not work out for him here.
Hey, remember when we were talking about how frustrating it was going to be for the 82 of Matthew Knott after getting taken out of the lead? Well, he's back to 4th, and he could possibly battle for that podium, as well as a great day for both of these 2 drivers, Knott and John Leday. Leday started back in 16th, and is usually a driver that races around the 10th spot and tries to break for top 10s, as well as, I want to say, for Jake Kraut. A great job for him with all that damage to get back into the top 5. And you can still see he has gotten all of that damage. Now, can he hold off drivers behind like Dylan Delaney, Wyatt Dent, and Jace Hale? Who knows? We'll have to see how severe the damage is when it comes to running in the top 5. We've already seen his natural pace when running outside of the top 10. But again, a good job for him to have gotten back to where he is. But let's look at these drivers in the top 5. Let's look at the top 2 because we've talked about John Leday and Matthew Knott because they are still contenders as we get set for our first of 3 possible green-white checkers. When we get to the green, it'll be 2 to go. But Peterson looking for a second win, and Berge looking to come to victory lane after quite a while. It'll be 2 to go at the line. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we got to watch Peterson here to make sure he can have a restart as effective as that last one. And it looks like he got a really good jump. Let's see if he tries to roll the top or if he stays in line. He's going to roll the top. A lap and a half left to go in the race. Scott, bring us home.
He's going to have to make a decision here, and he decides to stay on the outside. And John Leday is filling the hole, but he gets into the rear of Berge. He slows Berge down and allows Peterson to take the white flag all on his lonesome out front. John Leday went for a move to try to follow through with the 35 of Tanner Berge and take home second place. But inevitably, he lifted the rears of the 35, and Peterson powered on through. Peterson will power it to victory lane once again. It's a second win in Season 3 of the Misfit Touring Series for the 71 of Christian Peterson.
What a finish. You know, Christian Peterson might want to put John Leday on his Christmas card list as we enter the month of December.
I'd have to agree with you because I don't know. I don't know if it would have been won without that move from the 22 of John Leday. Just moved Berge, it killed all of Berge's momentum out of turn 4 and allowed Peterson to roll the top.
Yeah,
It definitely changed the race. And we had an incident with the 15 of Brandon Atkinson coming towards the line. And we'll get a moment to take a look at that as we see Christian Peterson getting to burn it down and park it on the front straightaway. We'll take a moment to look at that incident with the 15 of Brandon Atkinson because he did end up finishing in 9th position.
Yeah, there was quite the pileup coming to the white flag, I noticed.
Take a look at this. 15 now is going to be put 3 wide. Dylan Delaney on the inside, Jace Hale on the outside. Oh, and it's Atkinson that gets kind of moved up into the wall and way out of line. You saw Jace Hale get a big amount of damaging there, finishing in 13th spot. So just some drivers trying to give it everything they had, Gavin, towards the end.
Yeah, I don't think that was anything bad. Like, it's the last lap of the race. Everybody's trying to fight for every position they can, every point they can in this championship battle.
Yeah, let's see what happened to Leday here coming to the checker. This is the white flag lap, and let's not forget Leday just lifted up the rears of Berge and possibly could have taken away the win for him. And I want to see if this was some intentional contact or just some frustrations behind with these two. I want to see what truly happens here at the end. It looks like Berge just starts slowing down before the checkered flag. And John Leday is obviously trying to race to the checkered flag. So John Leday obviously didn't do anything. I don't know if Berge might have started slowing down on purpose or anything of that nature, but obviously started slowing down before the flag. Let's get to our race results. Christian Peterson taking the win, his second of the season. Tanner Berge coming up just 1 spot shy, and that trip to victory lane will have to wait another race longer. John Leday gets a great podium for himself, a great finish, probably a career best finish in the Touring Series. Matthew Knott competed up front for most of the race when he got shoved to the back, worked his way back forward. Look at that, Wyatt Dent able to pick up a top 5, his first top 5 of the season for the Dentman. Jake Grout, current points leader, will just miss out on the top 5, but comes home 6th. Dylan Delaney comes home 7th. To take 8th spot, it'll be the 19 of Christopher Shepard. Brandon Atkinson, who was involved in that late race wreck, will come home in 9th. And the 02 of Travis Owens, who was involved in that early lap 1 incident and was a lap down from the start, rounds out your top 10.
In 11th, we had Kyle Adams. He had a really eventful race. It seemed like whenever there was a caution, he found his way either in or around it, not of his own doing. He rounds out the lead lap. Jace Hale was the 1 car, 1 lap down in 12th. Richard Parks, who had a great run in his debut race with the Misfit Touring Series, finished 13th, 2 laps down. Aaron Johnson came home 14th. Ethan Wolf, Marquise Smith, and Bryce Nelson rounded out the field many laps down.
Yeah, really tough night for Ethan Wolf. Sustained damage early after leading the first 44 laps, and We said it was going to be a tough pill for him to swallow after starting up front and finishing eventually 15th. So we're going to roll from third, second, and then to our winner of Peterson. So we're going to pull in, and I'm gonna see if he's in the waiting room, but I actually don't think John Leday is currently in the waiting room. Let's see if I can go find him anywhere, because we would love to talk to John Leday. He's currently in race control. So what executive producer Morgan, what's the call? What do you want to do? We want to pull John Leday from, we'll go straight to our race winner and see when we can get to those other two drivers. So Christian Peterson, we'll pull him into the interview room a little earlier than we do. But Christian, that was an interesting finish.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it was a good race. I thought got a good restart on the outside, and leader and the guy behind him got together, and we just kind of were in the right place, right time.
If the contact between John Leday and Berge had not happened, were you planning to try to pull the crossover back under on Berge, or at that point were you committed to the outside?
I don't know. Yeah, Bergie was kind of playing games. He was lifting and trying to get me to stay up top, and I was going to try to do that at that point. There was maybe a hole, maybe one, on the last restart before the green white checkered, there was maybe a hole right away, and then it closed up real quick when he started lifting. So I just committed to the top and tried to do my best with what he was giving me, and then I mean, the last green white checkered, there wasn't really a hole. You know what I mean? I kind of got a good start and was even with him down the back. We made a little contact in one, and then, like I said, those guys made contact in 3 and 4, and we just kind of drove away from there. Kind of got lucky, but yeah, I definitely think if we weren't going to make contact, I think the outside would have prevailed. Maybe it would have been tough to tell. But Bergie was really quick. A bunch of those guys that were in the top 5, 6 were really quick. So anybody up there that was there in that green white checkered, at the front, probably could have got it done if they were in the right spot. So just like I said, right place, right time, and just happy to be here.
Well, you say right place, right time. You worked yourself back up to that place. You initially, you qualify second, get inverted back to sixth, and you run in the top 3 for most of the early portion of the race. But then you get the EOL after getting involved in the incident with Jake Grout and Ethan Wolf, and yet somehow you were able to work all the way from the back to the front and still have enough tire to be one of the fastest cars on track.
Yeah, car was good. We brought this piece back from when we ran the Triple Crown Showdown last season from this from MRL's series, and it was good. Didn't really have to make many adjustments. Just a little bit for the weather and free it up, but it was pretty stout. I mean, yeah, I thought we got kind of screwed there. I thought um when we got sent to the back there, I didn't really think that was on us. We weren't shifting, and the guys in front of us were. And when they shifted, I got into the back of Grout, and then I don't know if that jacked him up into him, but as soon as I got into the back of him, I lifted out of the gas. So it's like, I, I don't know how you can blame that on me when the guy in front of me's got a shift and I'm not. So, um, but yeah, all in all, we made it back to where we needed to be, and all is well.
Well, I know it was a tough position for you to sit in, but eventually it all worked out in your bad, fast piece, and I know you got people to thank.
Yeah, just everybody at Trick, everybody puts in the work on the setups. Of course, Kyle, all the guys who put in the work at Misfit Racing Leagues and MRL and all these cool events they got going on. So everybody who's listening, watching, if you guys got friends who race or whatever, tell them to join all those cool events. So we got the 500 coming up and all that. So do that. Thank you guys for the broadcast. And yeah, a lot of fun tonight.
It's always fun to talk to you, Christian, and we'll be talking to you more. Congratulations on your second win of the season.
Thank you, Scott.
Christian Peterson, a second win from Martinsville, one of the marquee wins, whether it be in iRacing or in real life, a place that you want to win at. And a driver that came up just short of that was the 22 of John Leday in third place. We mentioned him. We mentioned him for obviously what happened between him and Berge. And normally I get to interview third place, but I don't think we have Tanner Berge. So Gavin, John Leday is all yours.
Well, John, you had an interesting race. You started all the way back in 16th, worked your way up to the front. We didn't really talk about you till near the end of the race. Walk us through your march through the field and avoiding some wrecks in a very chaotic race.
Yeah, just wanted to save my stuff. Kind of gauge the field. Really didn't get to practice much due to the holiday being out of town and whatever. So just kind of came in kind of blind. Didn't qualify well as y'all everybody saw. I mean, we were not the class of the field there, and yeah, we're just able to make good moves and really get to the front where it mattered and stay out of too much peril.
Yeah, I gotcha. You mentioned you planned on saving a lot early on in the race. At what point in the race did you really notice, okay, I have a tire advantage, and you felt like you were able to start picking cars off easier and easier?
Probably 50 to go.
I
I
gotcha.
felt like it was that early. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, it could have been other people just being in the wrong places at the wrong
Mhm.
time, having some damaged cars and whatnot. But that's kind of where I felt like I was, feeling pretty good and was able to figure something out and make the car feel the best at the right time.
Yeah, you made a pretty aggressive move, or not aggressive, but you made a pretty interesting move there towards the end of the race, going for the win from third. Can you kind of walk us through that last restart?
Yeah. So I mean, I obviously, my teammate's the one that won the race. It's not something that I did to allow him to win the race. Um, you know, it was one of those things where the only move I could do, as I felt, was to, just trying to stick my nose in there where I figured it could get there the best, and then, let it play out from there. This is the first time me being able to be interviewed in the MRL series, and so I'm really proud of that. Just trying to make the best of what I was given was all. So, but proud of CP with the win, and of course, Bergie as well. I'll give him all the credit to being fast.
All right, and you mentioned this was the first time we got to interview you. So, with that, do you have anybody you want to shout out? Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, of course. I've got some couple different people than normal. So I've actually got Misfit Productions on the car for this race season, as well as RaceMRL.com. Corey Bodie Wraps, Molly's Custom Silver. Of course, want to thank Coleman. He did my paint for me, and then of course my boys at Trick Chassis. They're the one that's built this setup, and were allowed me to be able to just come in and race today.
All right, thank you, John. Great race.
All right, thanks guys. Appreciate you having me.
John Lede with a career best finish in the Misfit Touring Series, and he's definitely going to feel good about it. We know it got hairy there at the end, but obviously, when you're in that position, you're going to race with everything you've got, Gavin. And we do want to make sure before we close tonight, we did confirm per race control that the 35 did brake check across the line to the 22. That will result in an end of line penalty for tonight's race. And obviously, per race control's issue, that is not something that we want to condone here in the Misfit Touring Series. And so it's something that has to be penalized because we just don't want that. Leaves John Lede and moves him up to P2 and Matthew Knott onto the podium. So it's second place for the 22, and it makes his career best finish even the more better. And Gavin, your final thoughts on this evening from Martinsville?
Well, a lot of things that I said at the start of the race did not come true. My predictions are getting a little bit less credible week to week. But you know what? I'm okay with that because tonight's race was so fun to call, so fun to watch. I just know everybody watching had a great time, and I imagine most of the guys racing here really enjoyed themselves tonight.
Absolutely. I've got to imagine that everyone enjoyed themselves. And I got to say that we wish Matthew Knott was still around in the chat so that we could get him for an interview for his third place finish. But maybe next time, maybe we'll get to have Matthew Knott around again, because what a season it was, or a race it was for him. He said that car was going to be at the back, and he ends up finishing on the podium. But we're going to close it out for the night, and I thought it was a great race myself. I think we're going to have all the more greatness to come. It'll be Kern County in 1 week's time for our first of 2 Dash for Cash races. We're going to get you for more. And before I close out, actually, I believe that Matthew Knott is here, so we're going to get some time to interview him. So hold all of everything I just said, because we're going to find Matthew Knott to get him in here. There he is. Matthew Knott. You got a copy?
Yeah, what's up?
There we go. We were about to close out. We didn't know if you were back, but hey, you get moved into third place. But I saw your comments earlier today or yesterday. You were doing some practice and you were making this late model scheme, this Christmas scheme for the 82, and you said it's going to look really good at the back. But you spent 60% of this race near the front.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wasn't expecting the setup to be that fast. Team 53 got it dialed, and man, it was awesome.
Well, it was awesome. It was great to see you battling up front. I want to hear about the issue. The kind of, I believe it was between you and Bergie. You kind of got moved up out of the way and then got shuffled back on the outside, and you were urgently trying to find the bottom. How did you? Was it the car, you as a driver, or a combination of both that was able to help you rally throughout and bring it back up into the top five?
Honestly, I knew it was just a honest mistake and hard racing, so I just kept my head in it and ran 100 clean laps as best I could.
What was it about this setup? We've seen you race a lot here in the touring series, and you're a fairly good driver, but we've not seen you get as many of those top five finishes that you probably would want. Is this something we can continue to expect from you possibly all season long? More of Matthew not competing for some top fives?
Well, I certainly hope so. Yeah, I mean, I was debating between the shifting or not shifting set and went not shifting and just tried to really dial exit, and I mean, it seemed to pay off.
Well, there you go, drivers. If you're thinking about whether to determine your shifting pattern at Martinsville and late model stock, if it's shifting or non-shifting, look what Matthew Knott was able to do, thinking he was going to be running at the back, and he ended up running at the front. Matthew, with you getting moved onto the podium, we want to make sure we give you time to thank all the people you need to thank.
Oh man, I just want to thank everybody at Team 53. Justin Laxton has done a great job helping me learn a ton. I mean, he teaches me how to read my telemetry, work on sets, and try not to make a fool out of myself. So thank those guys a ton.
Well, you made yourself and a lot of people proud tonight, Matthew. Congratulations on the podium.
Thank you so much.
Matthew Knott officially rounds out your podium in third place, and we already got to hear about everyone's thoughts for the night, and I think we can close it there on such a great story for all three of your top three finishers, Peterson, Leday, and Matthew Knott, with two of those being their first time ever being on the podium here in the Misfit Touring Series. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you in 1 week's time at Kern County. Thanks for my lovely producer, Morgan Cook, and our cameras provided by Dougie Beard, and my colleague in the booth, Gavin Grubbs. My name is Scott Shive. We'll see you in 1 week's time in California.